They stopped Clayton in the paint on the cut.
And he just dribbles it out.
He dribbles it out, and they were late getting to him.
Mondays on XL Primetime, brought to you by Mokama. Check out their great craft in the tap room in Fernandina Beach.
Yep, reverse quarterback draw. That's basically what it was. Give me the line, turn, square up, shoot, net. Huge run for Florida with 4 threes, and that put him back on top against Texas Tech. Mondays in March with Mark, our man Mark Wise. He is all things college hoops, and he's been covering it all. You hear him on the family of networks on ESPN throughout the season. Mark, how are you, man?
I'm doing great after this heavyweight battle that we have coming up this Saturday. Who needs Cinderella?
It is the truth, because we said, and I think you were part of the conversation, NIL has killed Cinderella, but at the same time, here's where I found myself, Mark. Disagree or agree, but I said, hey, the death of Cinderella means from Sweet 16 on, we're going to have close games. Well, guess what? We did not. Half of them were blowouts.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at Duke as Duke is reminding me of UConn last year, of Villanova in their second run, the DiVincenzo crowd that just kind of manhandled the NCAA tournament. They have that kind of feel. Everybody's all concerned about Duke not being pressed in a tight game. Well, who cares if you don't get pressed in a tight game? So right now, I would have to think they would be looked at as the favorite, but you could make a case for any of these 4 cutting down the nets. I know Ken Palm has already put a thing out that since he's been doing his statistical analysis in 1996 and 97, these 4 teams, 4 of the 10 best since that time frame. So when I say heavyweight, that's not an exaggeration.
Wow. Hey, Mark, what do you attribute to Florida's slow starts in games and then their ability to rally towards the end? What is that attributed to?
Well, I don't know so much as a slow start. I get the point in reference, but they were up 3 at half, and I didn't think it played particularly well. They have been wearing down teams, late. I don't think there's any question about that. I made the analogy that they're like a running team with great skill in the halfback sets and an offensive line that eventually wears you out. You know, the score at half 13-10, and they've rushed for 40 yards, and the final is 42-17, and they've rushed for 190 in the second half. That's kind of the way they've been beating teams. That was not the case with Texas Tech. Texas Tech for 17 minutes in the second half, I thought was the better team. I thought they did something to Florida that very few teams have done this year, and that's they own the middle third of the floor with their offense. Whether the pick and roll, the pick and pop, the isolation with Williams, everything was designed to get back to the middle of the floor, and they were marvelous at it. The 2 big missed free throws, I know you guys have touched on it. And then, yes, Walter Clayton, that shot was stupid, just stupid good. But that shot is not set up if it was not for Hout's first 2 that kind of got him back within range. I thought he was the difference in the game.
Mark, I'm sure they're going to be seeing that pick and pop, not only from Auburn, but if they beat Auburn, absolutely from Duke. I guess if you're a Florida fan, you have to look at this like we haven't played a clean game yet. If they play a clean game, what's their ceiling?
Well, it's obviously high, but guess what? The other teams are pretty good at this level too. I mean, it's more difficult to play at your high end, unless, of course, you're BYU and you act like you have never seen Alabama play before. That, by the way, speaking of that game, have any of you ever heard of plus 57 in 3-point differential?
No.
Mark, they were literally letting them take threes. They were letting them take threes.
They were in trouble when Sears got some early looks, because everybody knows in the SEC you can't play that way. You cannot play that way against Alabama, especially at the start. And I think in the first 2 minutes he had like 3 clean looks, and I went, they're in for a long day.
And they said, Mark, if they had not taken any 2s, they still would have beaten them based on free throws and 3s, which is just insane. Now, I'll give Matt Hayes credit, Mark, because he said the difference between BYU's defense and Duke's defense quite different, which obviously Mark Sears suffered from that.
Yeah, no question about it. I keep coming back to this. People don't have any idea how big Duke is. No starter. Then nobody in the rotation less than 6'6", so they have positional size all over the place. I'm going to again repeat what I said last week. Malawatch is a problem. You are so consumed with Flagg and Knipple and Proctor making threes. Malawatch down in that high rent district on both ends of the floor, block to block, he's a problem because if Houston doesn't make threes, they can't win.
Okay.
Because one of the things that Houston does so well is go get a high percentage of their misses. This is by far Kelvin Sampson's best shooting team, by far. Number one three-point shooting team in the country. They just don't shoot a whole lot of them because of the style and pace that they play. But if they don't make 10 or more threes, they have no chance. There will be no second chance opportunities against Duke.
Now, Mark, with these last four teams, these four heavyweights battling in the Final Four, right now today, before we even get to the tournament, who would be your MVP?
Wow. In my view, it's the same as I look at Ken Palm's most outstanding player. I mean, the top three guys listed on his statistical analysis is Flagg, Broom, and Clayton. How can you differentiate between those three? None of the three teams would be there without those players. I mean, Duke would probably be the biggest because they have the biggest, deepest reservoir of talent. But they're not here without Flagg, let's be honest. For where Florida is right now, it would have to be Walter Clayton in the way he's delivered in crunch time. He's playing man at a different level. I mean, the shots that he is making when the games are on the line, either the quick off the bounce or that. What did Joe call it? The halfback runaway from the
quarterback
line?
draw. Yeah,
quarterback draw. I mean, that play was stupid.
I look at them right now, Mark, and I really think that Condon needs to assert himself a little more right now. He has played. I don't want to say soft because soft's not a good word, but he certainly hasn't been aggressive the last two games.
I'm not sure he's completely healthy. I mean, again, to retweak the same ankle as he did in February, I mean, that wasn't a good sign. But as I will say this, has slipped a little bit. I think one of the unsung heroes for Florida is Micah Handlog. I think he was really good the other day. So as long as the numbers between Condon and Handlogden are the same, I don't think it matters.
All right, so let's make an argument. We got a couple more minutes with our man Mark Wise, Mondays in March with Mark, as we're marching towards the championship. So I agree with what you said about Houston v. Duke. Let's just at least paint a scenario of what you think it would take Bruce Pearl and all of them ultimately to come out on top against the Gators.
Well, they're going to have to defend the three ball a whole lot better than they did in that game at Auburn because Florida made 13 in that game. They had 6 different players make 3-point shots in that game. Now, Klobuchar went 3 for 3. I don't think he's going to play hardly at all, much less 17 minutes. But remember, Elijah Martin didn't play in that game. I think the other part of the equation for Auburn is they can't have Baker Mazzaro, Denver Jones both go south on the same day. I think combined they had I want to say 8 points between them in the game. So Denver Jones is not going to play that way again. He's a different. That's the anomaly there. Miles Kelly had a great game for Florida, and he's been kind of reduced to a smaller role because of how good Denver Jones and especially Pettiford has been. But again, if I'm Bruce Pearl, if I'm the staff at Auburn, it all starts at the 3-point line. They must guard Florida better.
Hey, Mark, before we let you go, Hawk and Condon, do they stay or they leave?
Oh my gosh, you're already worried about next year.
I'm just asking because Hawks played really well in this tournament.
It's fair to ask because the portal is wide open right now, unfortunately.
I think it was pretty obvious Todd Golden was making his pitch, wasn't he? When he said he's going to start for us next year. Man, I'm going to say 80-20, they're back.
And I mean the NBA. I don't mean like to another team.
Very right. No, that's what I'm referring as well. Yeah, no, I think they both should go through the process. I'm for everybody going through the process. Are you telling me Will Richard is not a better player because he went through the process?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm for everybody going through the process.
Very much
But
so.
I don't see their name. I mean, Condon was a late first round a month ago. I haven't seen his name there lately. Houck, it would be just kind of the opposite. His stock is continuing to rise. He keeps making threes. He may not be back.
All right, so your winners on Saturday that make it to the championship game are?
I'm not going to change. This is by the way, the one and only bracket that I did.
Mm-hmm.
I have Auburn and I have Florida and Duke in the final.
Okay, Florida.
I'm not changing.
And then, do you feel like it looks like it's an unstoppable train locomotive for Duke, or Florida obviously can go toe to toe with them?
Well, again, if I go with my 3-point theory, that I think you must have a 3-point presence, a great 3-point presence.
Yeah.
I think Auburn and Florida both, because the number of threes they will shoot, is a better matchup against Duke than Houston is.
Yeah.
I just don't. Houston might shoot 40%, but 8 for 20 won't get it done.
Right. It's the volume.
I'm telling you, it's got to be 10 or more.
Yeah, and Florida struggled in that department for a long time against Texas Tech before they kind of got it going late. Hey, listen, great stuff as always. Are you going to San Antonio?
I am not going. I finished my last game was the third round of the NIT, and right now I am going to be like everybody else. I'm going to be a complete fan.
Hey, Mia here, and thanks so much for watching 1010XL. For even more great content like this, be sure to subscribe and like the 1010XL channel.